They can't figure out why their usual tactics don't work on you anymore. The manipulation that breaks others bounces off you like stones against a mountain. The lies that destroy reputations slide past you like water off glass. They whisper your name in frustration, wondering why their networks can't touch you, why their influence stops dead when it reaches your energy field. And what they don't understand, what keeps them awake at night, plotting, is that there's an invisible army standing guard around your life. Your bloodline didn't just give you DNA and features. They left you something far more powerful than genetics. They stationed themselves as sentries around your destiny, forming an impenetrable wall between you and those who would use you, drain you, or destroy you for their own gain. These aren't just memories or spiritual concepts. These are active forces, conscious protectors who see everything and allow nothing harmful to penetrate your space without consequences. Think about it for a moment. How many times have toxic people suddenly disappeared from your life without explanation? How many times have doors slammed shut just before you walked through them, only for you to discover later that those doors led to betrayal? How many times have you felt an unexplainable urge to avoid certain people or places and later learned you dodged a bullet you never even saw coming? That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was your ancestral guard doing what they've been doing since the day you were born, filtering out the threats so quietly that you barely notice their protection. But make no mistake, they notice everything. Every fake smile aimed at you, every hidden agenda, every person trying to get close for the wrong reasons gets flagged in their system immediately. Before we go deeper into this revelation, I want you to feel the weight of what you're about to discover. Press that like button right now and subscribe, because this knowledge isn't just information, it's activation. Every click tells the algorithm that this truth needs to reach more people like you, more chosen ones, who need to understand why their lives feel so protected, yet so isolated. Share this video, because your ancestors want their work acknowledged, and your engagement helps that happen. Now, let's uncover exactly how this spiritual security system operates. And Chosen One, once you understand this, you'll never feel alone again, and you'll stop questioning why some people can never quite reach you the way they want to. They don't understand why their charm doesn't work on you. They don't understand why their usual influence tactics fall flat when they try to use them in your direction. What they can't see is that your ancestors have installed what can only be described as a spiritual filtration system around your entire existence. Every person who attempts to enter your space gets scanned first. Not by you, but by bloodline protectors who have been watching manipulation tactics for generations. They recognize the signs before you do. That person who seemed so interested in your projects, but always had questions that felt like fishing expeditions. Your ancestors saw their real intentions 3 conversations before you did. That colleague who offered to help, but always left you doing more work than when you started. The spiritual guard identified their parasitic energy before they even finished their first sentence. This isn't paranoia talking. This is protection you never asked for, but absolutely needed. Your ancestral line knows that your energy, your talents, and your purposes are rare. They know that in the wrong hands, your gifts could be twisted, stolen, or used against you. So they established perimeter security that most people can't even perceive, let alone penetrate. Think about the last time someone tried to get closer to you than they should have been. Remember how uncomfortable you felt, how something inside you recoiled, even though they seemed perfectly nice on the surface. That internal alarm system wasn't your intuition alone. That was generational wisdom passed down through bloodline memory, warning you that this person's energy signature didn't match the frequency of someone who should have access to your life. Have you noticed how people with hidden agendas just can't seem to maintain friendships with you? They start strong, love-bombing you with attention and flattery, but then something shifts. They become distant, uncomfortable, or they just fade away completely. They tell others you're hard to read, difficult to connect with, or too intense. What they're really saying is that your ancestral protection makes it impossible for them to maintain fake relationships with you. Your bloodline guardians create what can only be called authenticity pressure around your energy field. People who approach you with genuine intentions feel comfortable, welcomed, at ease in your presence. But people with ulterior motives, people who want to use you or manipulate you, they feel increasingly uncomfortable the longer they stay in your space. It's like trying to hold their breath underwater while pretending they can breathe normally. The spiritual pressure becomes unbearable for them. They find excuses to leave conversations early. They stop initiating contact. They make plans with you and then mysteriously have to cancel. They start treating you differently, cooler, more distant. What they can't explain to themselves is that their nervous system is rejecting the dissonance between their hidden agenda and the pure frequency that surrounds you. Frequency that surrounds you. Your ancestors remember what it feels like to be betrayed by those they trusted. They remember the pain of discovering that people they loved were only using them. They've positioned themselves to ensure that you don't have to learn those lessons the hard way. When someone approaches you with fake friendship, the spiritual guard makes sure that person feels so uncomfortable that they remove themselves before they can do any damage. This protection extends into your romantic life in ways that might have frustrated you before you understood what was happening. How many times have you been interested in someone, only to have the connection fizzle out for reasons neither of you could explain? How many times have people you were attracted to suddenly become unavailable, distant, or complicated, right when things should have been getting easier? Your ancestors don't just protect you from fake friends, they protect you from soul ties that would drain your life force or derail your purpose. They can see the future implications of romantic connections better than you can see the present attraction. When someone approaches you who would ultimately waste your time, break your heart, or pull you away from your destiny, the ancestral guard intervenes. They don't violate free will, but they create circumstances that make unhealthy connections naturally fall apart. That person who stopped texting back wasn't necessarily rejecting you personally. They were unconsciously responding to spiritual pressure that made them feel like pursuing you was somehow off limits. Your bloodline creates a frequency around you that repels people who would hurt you, even if those people don't understand why they suddenly lose interest. Sometimes this protection can feel like isolation, especially when you watch others easily forming connections that you can't seem to maintain. But your ancestors know that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on connections that don't serve your highest purpose. They would rather keep you single than allow you to be drained by someone who doesn't deserve access to your heart. Have you ever wondered why narcissistic people seem to target you initially, but then can't seem to maintain their usual control patterns with you? They start with their typical love bombing, future faking, and charm offensive, but then something happens that they can't explain. Their tactics stop working. Their manipulation falls flat. They become frustrated and eventually move on to easier targets. Your ancestral protection specifically targets predatory personalities. The spiritual guard recognizes these patterns from generations of experience dealing with people who take more than they give. When a narcissist or energy vampire attempts to attach to your life, they encounter resistance they've never felt before with other victims. Their usual psychological hooks can't find purchase in your energy field. They might persist for a while, confused about why their manipulation isn't working as expected. They increase their efforts, become more aggressive with their tactics, try harder to break through your spiritual defenses, but the harder they push, the more uncomfortable they become. It's like they're trying to feed on energy that's been spiritually encrypted specifically to reject their frequency. Eventually, they give up and move on to targets who don't have this level of protection. They might tell themselves and others that you were too difficult, too complicated, or not worth the effort. What they're really admitting is that they couldn't penetrate the spiritual firewall your ancestors built around your life. They couldn't access you the way they access others, and that frustrated them into retreat. This protection extends into your career and business relationships in ways that might have seemed like bad luck before you understood the spiritual dynamics at play. Opportunities that seemed perfect but felt wrong in your gut. Business partners who approached you with great offers, but something made you hesitate. Employers who wanted to hire you, but the situation never quite materialized. Your ancestral line includes people who were taken advantage of professionally, people who had their ideas stolen, their work credited to others, their trust violated by business associates. They stationed themselves around your professional life to ensure you don't repeat their painful experiences. When someone approaches you with a business opportunity that would ultimately exploit your talents or steal your credit, the spiritual guard creates obstacles that prevent those connections from forming. Sometimes this protection manifests as doors that close just before you walk through them. Sometimes it shows up as contracts that fall through at the last minute. Sometimes it appears as personality conflicts with potential partners that arise seemingly from nowhere. What looks like professional rejection is actually spiritual protection, preventing you from walking into situations that would harm your career in the long run. Your ancestors can see the long-term consequences of professional relationships better than you can see the immediate benefits. They know when someone is approaching you with the intention to use your skills without giving you proper compensation or credit. They create circumstances that make these exploitative opportunities collapse before you can be victimized by them. People complain that you're hard to reach, difficult to pin down, or unavailable when they want your attention. What they don't understand is that your ancestors have created a system of selective accessibility around your life. Not everyone gets the same level of access to you. Not everyone should. Your time, energy, and attention are precious resources that need to be protected from those who would waste or abuse them. This spiritual screening process happens automatically without your conscious involvement. People with pure intentions find it easy to connect with you. Conversations flow naturally, plans come together smoothly, and communication feels effortless. But people with hidden agendas, people who want to use you or manipulate you, they find it surprisingly difficult to get your attention when they want it. Their calls go to voicemail more often than they should statistically. Their text messages get read, but somehow forgotten before responses are sent. Their invitations get lost in your mental planning. They find themselves having to work much harder than usual to maintain contact with you, and most of them give up before they realize what's happening. Your ancestors know that your energy is finite and your time is irreplaceable. They've created a natural filtering system that makes you automatically less available to people who don't deserve access to your life. This isn't conscious rudeness on your part. This is spiritual protection, operating below your awareness to preserve your resources for people and purposes that truly matter. Your bloodline carries memories of every betrayal, every manipulation, every heartbreak that your ancestors endured. They learned lessons about human nature that they don't want you to have to learn through painful experience. This accumulated wisdom operates as an early warning system that protects your peace before threats can disrupt it. When someone approaches you with intentions that would ultimately disturb your inner peace, your ancestors activate protective mechanisms that create distance between you and that person. They might become busy when you're available. You might become unavailable when they reach out. Circumstances might conspire to keep you separated until they move on to other targets. This protection understands that your peace of mind is more valuable than any relationship, opportunity, or experience that would compromise it. Your ancestral guard would rather see you lonely than stressed, rather see you isolated than manipulated, rather see you single than in a toxic relationship. They prioritize your well-being over your social connections, and they're never wrong about these decisions. Sometimes you might feel like you're missing out on experiences that others seem to enjoy easily, but your ancestors can see the hidden costs of those experiences that others pay later. They protect you from dramatic friendships, toxic work environments, and relationships that look good on the surface but destroy peace underneath. What you call intuition is actually your bloodline's collective intelligence communicating with you across the veil. That gut feeling that tells you to avoid certain people isn't just personal instinct. That's generations of your family line sharing their experience about recognizing predatory behavior, manipulative tactics, and dangerous situations. Your ancestors learned to read people the hard way through betrayal, deception, and manipulation. They developed sensitivity to the subtle signs that someone is not who they claim to be. This wisdom doesn't die with them. It gets passed down through bloodline memory and operates as an internal guidance system that keeps you away from people who would harm you. That uncomfortable feeling you get around certain people, even when they seem perfectly nice, is actually spiritual reconnaissance reporting back to you. Your ancestral line is scanning that person's energy signature, checking it against their database of known threats, and sending you warnings when they detect patterns that match previous predators. When your intuition tells you not to trust someone, that's not paranoia or social anxiety. That's your bloodline's collective experience protecting you from repeating their painful mistakes. They've already learned these lessons, so you don't have to. Their wisdom operates through your gut instincts to guide you away from people and situations that would ultimately hurt you. Your ancestors also protect your financial resources from those who would exploit them. How many times have you been approached by people with investment opportunities, business ventures, or financial schemes that seemed promising, but something made you hesitate? How many times have you felt uncomfortable lending money to people who seemed trustworthy, but your gut said no? Your bloodline includes people who lost money to smooth-talking con artists, people who had their generosity taken advantage of, people who trusted the wrong business partners and paid the price. They station themselves around your financial decisions to ensure you don't repeat their expensive mistakes. When someone approaches you with intentions to separate you from your money through manipulation or deception, the spiritual guard creates resistance that makes you naturally cautious. His protection might manifest as doubts that arise just before you're about to make a financial commitment. It might appear as questions that pop into your mind about details that don't quite add up. Sometimes it shows up as delays that give you time to research and discover red flags you might have missed in your initial enthusiasm. Your ancestors know that financial security is crucial for maintaining your independence and pursuing your purpose. They protect your resources not just from obvious scammers, but from people who would manipulate your emotions to gain access to your money. Friends who always need loans, romantic partners who expect you to fund their dreams, family members who guilt you into financial support you can't afford. You don't have to work at maintaining boundaries the way others do because your ancestral protection creates them automatically. People sense these invisible limits around your energy and most respect them without understanding why. Those who don't respect these natural boundaries find themselves facing consequences that seem disproportionate to their boundary violations. When someone pushes too hard for access to your time, attention, or energy, they encounter resistance that makes them naturally back away. They might experience sudden obstacles in their own life that require their focus elsewhere. They might develop feelings of discomfort or anxiety when they think about contacting you. They might simply lose interest for reasons they can't explain to themselves. This automatic boundary system protects you from people who don't understand the word no, people who try to manipulate you through persistence, and people who believe they're entitled to access that you haven't granted. Your ancestors create natural consequences for boundary violations that don't require your enforcement or confrontation. The beauty of this spiritual protection is that it operates without you having to be the bad guy. You don't have to argue, explain, or justify your boundaries. The spiritual guard handles enforcement through circumstances that make boundary violators naturally retreat. They learn to respect your space without you having to teach them through conflict. People become jealous of your life, your peace, your apparent immunity to the drama that affects everyone else. They see how effortlessly you avoid toxic situations that trap them repeatedly. They notice how people who hurt others seem to bounce off you without causing damage. Their jealousy drives them to attempt sabotage, gossip, or direct attacks on your reputation and peace. But your ancestral protection extends to defending you against jealousy-based attacks. When someone tries to harm you out of envy, their negative energy gets redirected back to them with compound interest. The spiritual guard doesn't just block their attacks, it creates consequences that teach them why targeting you is a mistake they won't want to repeat. This protection understands that jealous people are often the most dangerous because their attacks come from those close enough to know details about your life. Your ancestors create situations where jealous people expose themselves through their own actions. Their attempts to harm you become evidence of their character that others can't ignore. Sometimes this protection manifests as jealous people destroying their own credibility while trying to damage yours. Sometimes it shows up as their attacks backfiring in ways that benefit you more than if they had never tried to hurt you in the first place. The spiritual guard turns their negative energy into positive momentum for your life. Your major life decisions are influenced by ancestral wisdom that guides you toward choices that serve your highest good and away from choices that would derail your purpose. When you're faced with important decisions, you often find yourself naturally drawn toward options that protect your long-term interests, even if the immediate benefits aren't obvious. This guidance system operates through the same mechanisms that protect you from harmful people. You find yourself naturally attracted to opportunities that align with your purpose and naturally repelled by options that would waste your potential. Doors open easily for paths that serve your growth, and obstacles appear for directions that would lead you away from your destiny. Your ancestors can see the long-term consequences of your choices better than you can see the immediate implications. They've learned through their own experiences which types of decisions lead to fulfillment and which lead to regret. This wisdom guides your preferences, influences your interests, and shapes your values in ways that protect your future happiness. When you follow your natural inclinations, you're actually following ancestral guidance that's been refined through generations of experience. When something feels right despite logical arguments against it, that's often your bloodline's collective wisdom overriding present moment thinking to protect your long-term well-being. The comprehensive nature of this ancestral protection can sometimes create feelings of loneliness or isolation. When fake people are filtered out, when exploitative opportunities are blocked, when toxic connections are prevented, you might find yourself with fewer social connections than others seem to maintain easily. This temporary isolation is actually spiritual quarantine, protecting you during vulnerable periods when you might be more susceptible to manipulation or poor decisions. Your ancestors understand that it's better to be alone with your peace than surrounded by people who drain your energy or compromise your values. The isolation isn't permanent, but it is selective. Your spiritual protection creates space for genuine connections by clearing out superficial ones. It makes room for authentic opportunities by blocking exploitative ones. The filtering process might seem harsh, but it ensures that the people and experiences that do reach you are worthy of your energy investment. Your ancestors know that quality connections are more valuable than quantity connections. They're willing to keep your social circle small, if that's what it takes to keep it genuine. They understand that temporary loneliness is a small price to pay for permanent protection from those who would harm you. There are specific signs that indicate your ancestral protection is actively working in your life. People suddenly becoming unavailable when they were persistent before. Opportunities that seemed perfect falling through at the last minute for unexplainable reasons. Technology malfunctions when certain people try to contact you. Plans that keep getting cancelled or postponed until the other person gives up. You might notice that toxic people have trouble maintaining eye contact with you, even when they're trying to manipulate you. Their usual charm seems forced and unnatural when they're in your presence. They become uncomfortable in conversations that they would normally dominate with others. Their lies sound less convincing when they try to tell them to you. Another sign is the way predatory people seem to lose interest in you more quickly than they lose interest in their other targets. They might start with the same intensity they show everyone else, but their pursuit energy fades faster when directed at you. They find excuses to focus their attention elsewhere, often without understanding why. You might also notice that your schedule naturally becomes unavailable when people with wrong intentions try to make plans with you. You develop genuine conflicts, real responsibilities, or sudden opportunities that make it impossible to accommodate their requests. The spiritual guard creates practical obstacles that protect your time and energy. Understanding this ancestral protection should bring you comfort, not anxiety. You are not paranoid for sensing hidden agendas. You are not antisocial for having difficulty maintaining superficial relationships. You are not missing out when toxic opportunities pass you by. You are simply benefiting from generations of wisdom that wants to spare you from painful lessons your family line has already learned. Your ancestors invested their pain in your protection. Every betrayal they endured, every manipulation they discovered, every heartbreak they survived contributed to the spiritual security system that now surrounds your life. Their suffering was not meaningless if it prevents you from experiencing the same pain they did. This protection is not about living in fear or avoiding all human connection. It's about ensuring that the connections you do make are worthy of your energy and the opportunities you pursue are aligned with your highest good. Your spiritual guard filters out the harmful so that the beneficial can reach you more easily. Embrace this inheritance with gratitude rather than resistance. Trust the process when opportunities fall through unexpectedly. Appreciate the wisdom when your intuition warns you away from people others trust easily. Recognize the protection when your life feels more peaceful than the chaotic experiences of those around you. Today, your ancestors didn't suffer so that you could repeat their mistakes. They transformed their pain into your protection, their wisdom into your guidance system, their hard-learned lessons into your inherited knowledge. Honor their investment by trusting the spiritual systems they've established and recognizing their active presence in your life. Chosen one, if this message resonated with the experiences you've been having, if you recognize this pattern of protection in your own life, drop the number 888 in the comments to acknowledge your ancestral guardians. Hit that like button to honor their protection and subscribe so this wisdom can reach other chosen ones who need to understand why their lives feel so uniquely guarded. Share this with someone who's been questioning why toxic people can't seem to maintain their usual level of access to their life. Your ancestors want their protection acknowledged, and your engagement helps ensure that other protected souls recognize their spiritual inheritance too. The Bloodline Guard is real, their work is active, and your protection is their legacy. Remember, Chosen One, you are never alone. You carry the wisdom of generations, and they carry the responsibility of your protection. Trust the process, honor the isolation when it comes, and appreciate the filtration system that keeps harmful influences away from your sacred space.